So, have you ever felt like your job title only really captures, I don't know, maybe 20% of what you actually do
Oh, yeah, definitely.
or what you actually know? It's almost like you're walking around the office wearing this massive, completely invisible backpack. And it's just filled with all your skills, your passions, side projects, past experiences.
Yeah. But your email signature just stubbornly says, like, project manager two.
Exactly. It's so reductive. And today, we're actually taking a deep dive into a massive shift happening right now in how companies manage their people. We're moving away from organizing work around those static, boring job titles and transitioning to organizing work around dynamic, living
Which
skills.
is a huge structural change. I mean, we've spent well over a century organizing the corporate world around these incredibly rigid boxes.
Right.
We use job titles as a shorthand, mainly because it's easy for HR and payroll. But the problem with shorthand is that it strips away all the human nuance. It completely hides a person's true potential.
And we are going to look under the hood of how human resources technology, specifically the SAP SuccessFactors ecosystem, is actually making this shift happen. Our mission today is to look at concrete scenarios of how different software modules talk to each other to identify what you're good at and then foster that talent.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note right off the bat, this isn't just some theoretical HR philosophy. We're in an era of rapid AI development and just extreme market volatility.
Oh, absolutely. Things change overnight.
Exactly. Traditional job-based workforce planning is becoming a massive liability. If an entire industry shifts, a company doesn't have 6 months to rewrite 500 job descriptions, post them, and hire externally.
They'd be dead in the water.
Right. The only way to survive is through sheer agility. You have to understand what the people already inside your building can actually do, and then redeploy that talent instantly.
So, to understand how this tech actually identifies and moves that talent around, we kind of have to look at the central nervous system of this whole operation. In the SAP SuccessFactors suite, this is called the Talent Intelligence Hub.
Yeah, the Talent Intelligence Hub. Think of it as the underlying engine that's powering the entire human capital management suite.
Okay.
It's not just another isolated HR tool that a company buys and bolts onto their existing software. It's a centralized framework designed to bridge a very specific gap, the gap between what the company needs and what you, the individual, actually bring to the table.
I mean, we can really see that gap when we look at the two main components this hub connects. On one side, you have the job profile builder.
The traditional side.
Right, exactly. The traditional side of the house. It dictates what the job requires, the competencies, the background, the hard skills. It's a very rigid set menu. But on the other side, you have something called the growth portfolio.
Which is where it gets interesting.
Yeah. This is the employee's unique repository. It holds your skills, sure, but it also captures your passions, your expressive preferences, and your aspirations. So if the profile builder is the set menu, the growth portfolio is the buffet where you build your own custom plate.
Bridging that gap changes the entire culture of a company. I mean, look at a real-world case study from the sources, like Grundfos.
Oh, the water pump company.
Right. They are a massive global provider of pump and water solutions. And back in 1945, the founder, Paul Du Jensen, actually went down into his basement to build his own water pump from scratch, simply because he couldn't find one good enough for a customer.
Wow, just doing it himself.
Yeah, and that is pure, unadulterated skills-based work. But fast forward nearly 80 years, and Grundfos has thousands of employees worldwide. You can't just rely on knowing what the guy in the basement can do anymore.
Yeah, that doesn't really scale.
It doesn't scale at all. They realized that to support modern, project-based agility, they couldn't rely on rigid departments. They needed a centralized, global view of skills so they could connect specific work to specific skills rather than just saying, hey, assign this person to this job.
And building that global view has to be a massive undertaking. The sources detail SAP's own internal transformation using this exact technology. Because, I mean, imagine trying to run a massive tech company where an engineer in Germany is casually referred to as a code ninja.
Which is a terrible title, by the way.
It's the worst. But then you have an engineer in India with the exact same capabilities, and they're labeled a software architect too. How do you even compare them?
You can't.
Right. So SAP used the Talent Intelligence Hub to consolidate over 6,000 fragmented, uniquely named skills down to 2,000 standardized ones. They effectively created a universal language across the entire business.
Which is crucial.
It is. But okay, if I'm putting myself in the shoes of the employee here, this sounds like an absolute nightmare of administrative busy work.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, if I have to log into an HR portal on a Friday afternoon and manually unpack that entire invisible backpack, typing out every single skill I possess, rating my own proficiency, building this whole portfolio from scratch, I'm simply not going to do it.
Nobody's going to do that.
Right.
And that administrative friction is exactly what kills most corporate initiatives. If it relies on manual data entry from exhausted employees, it's just dead on arrival.
Yeah.
This is where the integration between the different modules becomes absolutely essential, starting from literally day zero of the employee journey.
Which brings us to our first concrete scenario, the recruiting and onboarding phase. The system actually does the heavy lifting for you before you even receive your company laptop.
Let's trace how the data actually moves here. When a candidate applies, the recruiting module interacts directly with that growth portfolio we talked about.
Okay.
Using AI-assisted skills extraction, the system reads the unstructured text of the candidate's resume or CV. And it doesn't just look for exact keyword matches.
No, it doesn't.
No, it understands the context of your past experiences, translates that into the company's newly standardized skills taxonomy, and identifies your actual capabilities.
Okay, so the moment you are hired, those identified skills automatically populate your new growth portfolio. It basically solves the blank slate problem.
Exactly.
You aren't walking into your first week having to prove you know how to use basic software or manage a budget. You start with a rich AI-generated baseline of your capabilities. It's kind of like importing your old save game data into a brand new video game.
That's a great way to put it.
You bypass level 1 entirely and can start contributing to areas where you actually excel.
And the impact of that seamless data transfer is huge, especially for global operations. The sources bring up the retail company DM as a great example of this.
DM.
They integrated the SAP SuccessFactors Employee Central and Recruiting modules to harmonize their candidate and employee data across their entire European footprint.
And the human element of that DM case study is fascinating because they have thousands of stores, right? If you were a store manager in Croatia, you want to use the software in Croatian. You don't want to translate your hiring data into German just for the corporate headquarters.
Nobody has time for that.
Exactly. But because the underlying skills taxonomy is unified in the system, employees and candidates interact in their localized native language, but the data feeds into a globally harmonized database.
It saves store managers countless hours of compiling manual spreadsheets.
But I gotta say, I'm still stuck on the resume extraction part.
Okay, why?
Well, resumes are notoriously aspirational. People exaggerate. Everyone claims they are a master communicator and an expert in data analysis.
Yeah, people stretch the truth.
Right. So if the AI is just scraping what people claim they can do, how does the system actually verify these skills once the person is sitting at their desk?
That is the big question. And it transitions us into the daily reality of the job. How do we uncover and verify what someone is actually doing day to day? This requires the Continuous Performance Management Module, or CPM, to constantly talk to the growth portfolio.
Okay, so the CPM module is where a lot of the daily administrative tracking happens. It's where employees log their daily achievements, where they write down notes for their one-on-ones, request feedback from peers, stuff like that.
Yeah. And as you are logging those routine activities, the AI is working in the background. It analyzes all that unstructured text.
Just reading the notes.
Basically.
Yeah.
So if a peer leaves feedback saying, hey, great job leading the cross-functional team through that supply chain bottleneck, the AI parses that context. It infers specific skills, perhaps crisis management or supply chain optimization.
Wow.
It takes the daily work you are already doing and translates it into verified skills.
It's essentially a fitness tracker for your career.
Yeah.
It counts the steps you're taking, the heavy lifting you're doing on projects, without you having to actively log every single motion. Those inferred skills are then pushed over to your growth portfolio as recommendations.
Exactly. It makes the invisible work visible.
I hear you on the automated tracking, but honestly, if an AI misreads my feedback and tags me as a pivot table expert just because I helped organize one chaotic spreadsheet during a crisis, I'm going to be miserable.
You don't want to be the spreadsheet guy.
No, I don't want to be trapped doing spreadsheet triage forever just because a computer parsed a keyword and flagged me as the go-to guy. It feels a bit Big Brother-ish.
That fear of being pigeonholed by an algorithm is huge. And it's exactly why the architecture requires a human-in-the-loop validation step.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah, the AI is only authorized to recommend skills. It cannot force them into your permanent record. You, the employee, must review the recommendation and explicitly accept it to add it to your portfolio.
So I have absolute veto power. If it suggests advanced Excel, I can just reject it and keep it out of my profile entirely.
Completely. And it actually goes a step further. If you accept a skill, you can also mark it with a passionate tag.
Oh, what does that do?
It signals to the system, not only am I highly capable at this, but I actively want my career to head in this direction.
That is brilliant.
It is, because it ensures the technology is optimizing for your personal career satisfaction, not just ruthlessly optimizing for the company's immediate needs.
That distinction completely changes how an employee interacts with the software. Okay, so all this daily data is being gathered. The skills are inferred, the employee validates them, the portfolio is growing. Where does this data actually go?
Well, it rolls up to leadership.
Right.
For a manager, this data populates what is called a team portfolio view. It provides a real-time heat map showing the proficiency levels across their entire team.
That sounds super useful.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
Crucially, it highlights the proficiency gaps, the difference between what the department's job roles require and what the employees currently possess. Managers can see who is good at what without having to rely on their own memory or, weird private spreadsheets.
Which brings us to the strategic side of things, our next scenario. Imagine a group of managers sitting down for a calibration session. That's where leadership debates and aligns on performance ratings to ensure everyone across the company is being evaluated fairly.
Right.
Historically, these sessions rely a lot on gut feeling and recent memory, like, oh, Dave did a good job last month.
Yeah, which is full of bias. But with this integrated tech, those managers can pull up an individual's employee profile right on the screen during the debate.
Just boom, right there.
Right there. They can instantly see the employee's risk of loss, how likely they are to leave the company, alongside their readiness to step into a succession role.
And because these modules communicate, action can be taken instantly. Let's say during this calibration session, the managers agree that a top talent is ready for promotion, but they lack a specific leadership skill. Right from that screen, they can assign a development goal.
Yes.
Or they can cross directly into the learning management system and assign a specific training course to close that exact gap. It's totally seamless.
And from the employee's perspective, they can do the same thing using the career worksheet.
How does that work?
Well, if I decide I want to be a regional director in 2 years, the system dynamically compares my current growth portfolio against the requirements for that specific director role.
Okay.
It shows me my gaps, and the learning module automatically surfaces the exact courses I need to take to get there.
But let's be real about corporate training for a second. People are incredibly busy.
Always.
Learning almost always gets pushed to the back burner because employees are drowning in their actual day-to-day deliverables. I mean, how do we know anyone will actually take these suggested courses?
It is a universal problem, and we often assume it's simply a lack of time. But the SAP research data in the sources points to something deeper.
What did they find?
They found that the #1 barrier employees cite that keeps them from engaging in work-related learning is a lack of financial reward.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. Why would I spend 10 hours of my week learning a complex new AI tool if my paycheck stays exactly the same? So how does the software solve a fundamental human motivation problem? It can't print money.
No, but it provides the verified data required to actually pay them for it.
Yeah.
Because the learning module is fully integrated with the Talent Intelligence Hub, the moment an employee completes a course and demonstrates capability, their proficiency level for that specific skill is automatically updated in their growth portfolio.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Right. HR now has verified, audited proof of upskilling, which allows them to tie learning directly to retention-based incentives.
Meaning, instead of just hoping people learn for the good of the company, HR can set a policy that says, hey, if you achieve a level 4 proficiency in this critical new coding language, you receive a tangible bonus.
Yes. And the sources specifically highlight offering retention-based incentives like restricted stock units or RSUs for verified skills gained.
Oh, stock units.
Yeah, which is a brilliant strategic move. Think about it. If you just offer a one-time cash bonus, an employee might learn the skill, take the cash, and immediately jump ship to a competitor who wants that new skill.
Oh yeah, happens all the time.
But by tying the validated skill gain to RSUs that vests over time, the company provides the financial motivation the employee craves while ensuring they actually stick around to utilize that new capability.
Okay, so let's follow the journey here for our final scenario. The system extracted my baseline skills from my resume. It tracked my daily work to infer new skills. I took a course to close a gap. The system verified it, and I got my stock bonus.
Sounded pretty good so far.
It's great for my wallet, but if I just go back to my exact same desk, doing the exact same tasks every day, the company has completely wasted its money. How do they actually put my newly verified skill to use?
This is where all of this data is finally weaponized for internal mobility. It's done through a module called the Opportunity Marketplace.
The opportunity marketplace.
Yeah, the marketplace dynamically reads your growth portfolio. It looks at your verified skills, your updated proficiency levels, and especially those tags where you marked what you are passionate about. Then it actively recommends opportunities that match your specific brain.
So it might suggest a mentor you should connect with, or maybe a temporary side project you can contribute to.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Or a dynamic team forming for a short-term sprint, or even a permanent open internal job.
It's basically a dating app, but for matching internal projects with the exact right talent inside the company.
That is exactly what it is. And that matching doesn't stop at the walls of the corporate headquarters either.
It goes further.
Way further.
Yeah.
The integration extends out to what is called the extended enterprise. The system talks to SAP Fieldglass, which manages contingent workers, freelancers, and contractors.
Oh, wow.
It also integrates with SAP S/4HANA Cloud for financial and project allocation.
So if a company is staffing a massive new initiative, the system isn't just looking at the people sitting in the immediate department. It's looking across a completely fluid, borderless workforce.
Yes.
It can match a piece of work to a full-time employee in another country who has the passion for it, or to an external freelancer in the Fieldglass system. The match is based purely on verified skills and availability, not on department headers or rigid organizational charts.
It's totally skill-driven.
But wait, if I'm a middle manager trying to hit my quarterly targets and this opportunity marketplace dating app keeps matching my best data scientists with side projects in other departments, I am going to actively hate this system.
You'd be furious.
I am going to hoard my talent and tell my team to ignore the marketplace. I need my people to do the jobs I hired them to do.
And honestly, managerial territoriality is the biggest cultural hurdle to this kind of transformation.
Yeah.
But this is exactly why the team portfolio heat map we discussed earlier is so vital.
Because it shows the manager what they're lacking.
Yes, and it changes the psychology of the manager. It shows them that by participating in this agile marketplace, they aren't just losing their people, they are gaining access to a massive pool of specialized talent across the entire company that they could never afford to hire full-time.
Ah, okay. So I might lose my data scientist for 5 hours a week to a passion project in logistics, but in return, I can borrow a brilliant graphic designer from the marketing department for my own project without having to fight for a new headcount budget.
Precisely. It creates overall enterprise flexibility.
Yeah.
And this circles all the way back to the Grundfos case study and their desire for modern agility.
Right? The water pump company again?
Yeah, they wanted to engage people on projects for shorter periods of time and field cross-functional product teams without needing formalized permanent departments. The Talent Intelligence Hub makes that fluid exchange of talent possible because the currency of the company becomes skills, not job titles.
Well, let's summarize the sheer scale of what we've covered today. By breaking down the traditional software silos between recruiting, performance tracking, learning, and internal mobility, this technology allows all these modules to actually talk to each other.
Seamlessly.
Yeah. It creates a single source of truth for human capability. And in doing so, it transforms an organization from a rigid top-down hierarchy into a living, breathing, dynamic skills ecosystem.
It fundamentally changes the social contract between the employee and the company. The company gains the rapid agility it desperately needs to survive in an unpredictable market.
Right.
And the employee gains highly personalized development and opportunities that align with their actual interests.
So if you're listening to this and thinking, why do I care about the nuts and bolts of back-end HR software? Here's why. This is about your career trajectory.
Absolutely.
As these technologies become the standard across the corporate world, your career will no longer be limited by the two-word title printed on your business card. Your hidden skills, the daily achievements that used to go completely unnoticed by leadership, and your specific passions, they'll all be actively tracked.
It won't just be ignored anymore.
No, they will act like a magnet, actively attracting opportunities directly to you.
It empowers individuals to own their career in a way that just wasn't possible when we were all just job descriptions on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
But looking at how seamlessly these modules now communicate, it actually raises a really provocative question for the future of work.
Ooh, laid on us.
Well, think about the traditional hiring process. If an AI is continuously extracting our baseline skills, inferring our new capabilities from our daily work, tracking our proficiency gaps in real time, and perfectly matching us to opportunities based on verified audited data,
Right.
will the traditional job interview eventually become completely obsolete?
Wow. That is a wild thought.
I mean, if the data in the system already proves exactly what you can do and exactly what you're passionate about, what is the point of a 45-minute conversation where you just sit across a desk and claim you can do things?
Right. You don't need to claim it. It's verified.
Exactly. Maybe in the near future, the interview dies entirely.
Because your portfolio will do all the talking. We started this deep dive talking about how your job title only captures 20% of who you are, leaving the rest hidden in an invisible backpack.
Time to unpack it.
Exactly. It turns out the technology is finally here to unpack that bag, catalog every single item inside, and actually put it to work. That's all for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.